Hey everybody, look who I have with me. It's Jon Lindstrom.
Look who
Who's
I have with me. It's Michael Fairman.
Hey, and not only is he a four-time Daytime Emmy nominated actor who we've loved on General Hospital, World Turns et al. He's an author of his first crime thriller novel, Hollywood
Hey, I have
Author.
one just like that.
You have one. I got mine signed by you.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
I haven't signed my own yet.
Yeah. You don't sign your own. Maybe you should sign your own. What a journey this has been, right? Like
Yeah, it sure has.
I just
A
want to
great
ask,
one.
it's a great one, and I wanted to ask you. So I'm following. So it was on the USA Today bestseller list, right?
Yes,
What other
yes.
things
The week it came out. Yeah.
have there been others?
I actually don't know. I know that the sales threshold for USA Today is about the highest. And so between pre-sales, because those count because those get delivered the day the book is published, or at least that week. Um, pre-sales and day of orders and all the first week, which is a short week because it drops on a Tuesday. All I can tell you is that we sold a hell of a lot of books.
Unbelievable.
And I haven't gone back to look. I'm just like, you know what? Quit while you're ahead. Just take the take the win and run with it.
It went and run. What has it been like for you though now, having your work of art that you worked on and it was your passion, and seeing it, people reading it and having this, and is it really
Well, yeah, the best part of it is being able to hold this, between two covers, a hardback, and go, I did this. I had help, but I did it. And uh the probably, and this feels good. It would feel good if it were just an ebook or only an audiobook. But what feels the best is seeing those 4.5 out of 5 stars on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, and places where people actually read books. And all the comments that I'm getting online through my Instagram and Twitter, and all the people that are just telling me that they really, really enjoyed the book.
now? You were so you are a crime thriller guy, I'm assuming.
I am, yeah.
So Jeffrey Deaver was one of you love his work as well, or
I've actually never read Jeffrey Deaver, though my agent handles Isabella Maldonado, who just put out a book with Jeffrey Deaver. I need to read him because I have several really good thriller author friends, and they all rave about Jeffrey Deaver.
well, the reason
Apparently, I'm meeting him at the Thriller Fest this year in June, so I better
going up
consume
on
a
your
little books
Jeffrey
before
Deaver.
I get there. Yeah.
But where I was going with this is, his show, Justin Hartley has a show.
Oh, that's right. That's his. Yeah, that's from his
Jeffrey
books.
Deaver's right. So I'm like, maybe we could have this become a show.
Well, I don't know if there's stories for a crime fighting over the hill movie star.
I'm all
Uh,
for it.
that might be that might be pushing it. But there's some other characters in this book, specifically Teddy Beauregard, the fallen private detective from New Orleans who now lives in LA and is a bit of fish out of water, but he's a good cop. I was actually talking with my agent about that last night. She had the idea. And I thought, well, I'm struggling with book two. Maybe I should just write a story about Teddy and see where that takes me.
No, shoot. I mean, yeah. I mean, when you were writing this, how did you decide that it would be, how did you decide that this was the direction you were going to go? Did you sit down and go, I want to write a crime thriller? Or
No, I'm just a big crime thriller guy. And I mean, I cut my teeth reading all the Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett and James M. Cain, all that stuff when I was a kid. That was around the house because my parents read all that stuff too, along with Khalil Gibran and Herman Hesse. We had all that stuff around too. So we had a lot of reading going on in my house. There was always reading and there was always music playing. Um, but as I got older, I really glommed on to Ian Fleming, the James Bond books. And then I discovered when I got to California, I discovered Elmore Leonard. And he kind of changed my life. Now, Elmore Leonard was a guy, God rest, who if he had to write a scene with 4 people in it, he would write the scene 5 times. He would write it from the point of view of every character in the scene, and then he would write the scene. So you figure by the time you got his book, he's probably rewritten that book 20 times. And he was a very prolific writer. So I don't like to write that much, but it is something to aspire to try to be that good. I wanted to write something lean and mean like he did.
Winston Green, I mean, he's a has-been film star, but is he modeled after anybody?
Hmm. Well, we've all known a few.
I know some has-beens.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yes, I drew some inspiration from some people that I knew, people that are alive, some who have gotten control of their life and made good use of it, which is where Winston is at when you meet him. He's been able to get sober, and he's gotten his life back to a place that's stable, where he's hanging on, and he can maintain that stability as long as he follows, his road, keeps his road steady. Which of course is where everything goes wrong, and that's why you have a story. But I will say that, and I'm sure some of the people out here have heard this
Yeah.
before, but I think it bears repeating. Tom Sizemore was definitely an inspiration. I mean, he was
Uh,
such a gifted guy.
yeah,
I mean, and everybody from Steven Spielberg to Michael Mann, to Ridley Scott, they all wanted to work with him, and he delivered for them. I mean, his work just in Heat and Saving Private Ryan it's just first rate. He was just a cut above everybody, and it took a hard left due to his demons, and apparently what got him was just the abuse he did to his body. His body
yeah,
couldn't bear and recover from that
yeah.
ultimately.
But he's your,
So, but
but,
he was an inspiration. I mean, that kind of trajectory, personal and professional trajectory, was an inspiration.
and then you decided that the troubled adult daughter, you had to have her.
Well, yeah, and that is very much from my point of view, my perspective in terms of the Hollywood babies that I've known. It's hard to be the child of someone famous.
Oh,
It's not easy to be in this business. I've said a lot. Getting into Hollywood is really hard. Staying in Hollywood is even harder. And when you come into it with that thing hanging over your head constantly, that comparison to famous parents and the expectations, and I mean, I saw Sean Ono Lennon the other night won an Oscar for producing.
no, I know,
It's,
I know.
you don't see him touring or anything much anymore, do you? And um, his older brother, Julian, he's walked away from it entirely. Now that's music, it's not what we do, but
Right.
it's still the same thing. And it's rare when you see people come out of that and go into the business and are able to really adjust and maintain a productive line. You know what I mean? So a career arc. I mean, it's hard enough. I'm not surprised why a lot of them change their last name and
Well,
go
that's
sell
right,
real estate.
right, right. Wasn't there, there's that reality show where it's like you have to guess that they're the celebrity of who, celebrity son, cousin. There's this reality show where they
I don't know this show.
put them all in a house. No, they did. They put them all in a house.
Oh yeah, I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here.
Something. Um, but I was going to say what I loved about the book is that, I love that you address the dark underbelly of show business in Hollywood because it's a
Yeah,
hard life. It's a hard life. And I think
yeah,
people just have a different purview of it than if you're really struggling and in it and dealing with how
yeah.
corrupt or
I think
unjust or, can be.
exactly. I think I wanted to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit on that and let people know that yes, it is. This is a place of stunning possibility and wealth and glamour and success and all that. But a bright light like that attracts insects. And there are people that come here, people who are from here, that are really, quite frankly, the word is dangerous. They are dangerous people, and they are looking to take a shortcut and to use you to get there and take whatever rewards that they can strictly for themselves. And a lot of them aren't bothered how they do it.
Right. And you just said it perfectly. I feel like that's so true.
Yeah. On
It's
the same, by the same token, I
right.
wanted to write those friends of Winston's, Grover Washington, the stuntman, his friend Teddy, who we met on a set in New Orleans. These are these are good people.
Were there times going into your own career in Hollywood, in this business, were there times where you were so fed up you wanted to quit?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, and
I've
that more
had that
more
many
than
times.
once.
I have it like 30 times, 40.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can remember several specific times. A couple in particular was, sitting on my stoop just going, I got to get out of here. I got to get out of here. I can't do this anymore. I can't put up with this shit anymore. Pardon my French, but um I remember, and a lot of it just has to do with whether or not you're getting work, because for an actor, that's that is the measure of success, whether or not you work. You can be cast, you can deliver, you can be cast again and again and again and again. Now, I'm really fortunate. My career goes back 40 years now. Since the day
Believe
I
that?
started working, I'm almost at 40 years. Yeah, in 2025, it'll be 40 years that I got my first job that got me out of the restaurant business. So, I'm really happy and grateful to have such a durable career going for myself. But that's not always the case. There's a story I tell. I was there before I got General Hospital, I was out of work for about 2.5 years. I could not get even an audition. I don't know. And I began to think there must be a conspiracy against me. So I must have, you've had that feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's like,
yes.
did I piss somebody off?
Did I
They
piss
made a
off?
phone call that said,
Right.
whatever you do, don't see Jon, because there was one project in particular. It was a TV movie. It was a World War II story about the USS Indianapolis, which delivered the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. And they talk about it in Jaws, because Robert Shaw was on the Indianapolis. Well, they got torpedoed on the way back, and it was so secret they couldn't send out a distress signal. So all the sailors wound up in the ocean, and many of them were killed by sharks. I mean, it's a horrible story, but it's a famous story about American bravery. And I couldn't get an audition for this thing. Everybody I know is going in on it. Everybody wanted to go in on it because it's like doing Saving Private Ryan. You want to do this.
I want to do it.
And, but I couldn't get in. And a few years later, I was sitting watching television with my girlfriend at the time, and that movie came on. And I said, hey, I want to watch this. I want to see who's in it. And it was everybody I knew.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, all these people that you see at auditions and everything, back in the day when we had those, they're all in this movie. And at one point, about halfway through the movie, she turned to me and said, well, no wonder you thought there was a conspiracy against you. I mean, even she saw it. But then I got General Hospital and life turned around, and
Right.
and here we are now.
Here we are now. And you remember when you used to go to auditions and you'd see the same guys with you at all the different, like the
Hmm?
same group of guys would be
Same
up.
guys, yeah. 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 And you walk into the room and it's this, everybody looks up and smiles, and it's this blinding sea of white teeth, something like that. It was funny. We laughed on the picket line during the strike this summer
Yes.
because we were going, oh my God, we haven't seen this many people that we know since we had in-person auditions 5 years ago. It's been that long, at least, since I was going into offices, and you'd see those friends of yours that you've known for decades now.
Right. It's all self-tape
Now we
now.
just do it all self-tape, and it goes off into the internet somewhere, and you hear from them or you don't. Usually you don't.
Right. And that was, I was talking to some other actors that I've had on there, like, I send my tape in and then nobody gets back to you, period. I don't even know if they got the tape.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
no
You know,
response. you
I
know.
mean, I'm blessed with very good representation. I have great agents, I have great managers. I've been with both a really long time. I trust them very much. And they always take the time to say, "Great job, Jon. Thank you."
But
You know, I mean, but that goes a
that
long
goes a
way.
long way.
It makes me
Yeah,
want to do the next one.
right. I have some people here. Um,
There's
eight,
people out there.
there's people here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Um, they're saying to you, congrats on the book.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Mickey Morton is saying, if the book were to be made into a movie, who would you cast for the characters?
Okay. The first person that came to mind to play Winston Green, because I describe him as being reminiscent of Steve McQueen with
Yes.
with
Yes.
blonde hair now, going gray, blazing blue eyes. I described him. I came up with this. What you know, certain actors have that thing where you just kind of feel the tension coming through the screen. So I described him as a director once described Winston Green as a landmine that's been stepped on, just waiting for you to step off. You know? But that's the kind of magic that gets captured by movie stars. So,
So who would it be? Like who would
well, the first one to come to mind was Kevin Bacon.
oh
Yeah, I liked
yeah.
him for the part a lot. Somebody else suggested, and I think this is really right, Viggo Mortensen.
Oh,
Because
he would be
and he
uh,
can do anything. Vigo is just terrific. I think he would be right. Both he and Kevin are kind of in that zone where they know how to, they can really underplay and convey a lot with that and carry that tension. Nicolas Cage is a possibility. I think when he goes inside of himself,
side.
he can be so compelling, so good. So those are the top three. For the rest of the characters, I will say that Lauren, the stuntman's wife, um, I did, in a perfect world, Angela Bassett would just be awesome for that part.
Oh,
Just awesome. She's beautiful. She's strong. She's smart. She's gifted. I just, she's so intelligent. You just kind of feel that coming off of her. And Lauren, I wanted to be someone who could just open her mouth and you just
and
go,
you're just
wow, I just learned something right then, Um, and for Geordie, the big surfer, he's one of the villains. I did think about the actor Glenn Powell, who
oh yeah.
yeah, he did. He made such a great impression in Top Gun Maverick. And but he's big and he's blue-eyed and he looks like a surfer, but I think there's just an enormous amount of talent in that kid. And I think he could pull off a psycho like Geordie. So beyond that, I haven't really thought about it.
Um
I just know it won't be me.
that's what they're of course. They're like, will you do your own
Yeah, I don't think that, in the right situation, I would be happy to adapt the book to a screenplay and even consider directing it. But I don't think that I'm right to play Winston Green. I
were
just don't.
you inspired? Did you watch the Oscars?
I did.
Were you inspired? What did you think of it? How did you feel of the show overall?
I'm always inspired by watching the Oscars, and
Good.
I did agree with the Best Actress choice of Emma Stone.
I did too. I
I
did.
thought she was just, I mean, I think she's some kind of a genius anyway. I mean, all the work that I've seen her do, I've never seen her make a false move.
No, no.
She won for La La Land. I thought
I
she
loved
did.
her in La La Land.
Yeah.
Loved her.
But
I
playing this Frankenstein character in Poor Things was great. I didn't love that movie. I think it's a brilliant movie, genius, but she just killed me. I was secretly hoping, though I felt Oppenheimer would win. I was secretly hoping that American Fiction would win, which I just thought was one of the few perfectly made
it
movies
was a
that I've
good.
seen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
This,
like. Yeah.
yeah.
Great script too, which I'm
Great.
glad it won for that.
What did you think about Al Pacino schlepping out there and then like not, and then the whole statement it was like he didn't say the 10 films. If I was nominated, I would want to be, read, but they're saying the producers told him not to, and he just came
I,
out.
I think the producers told him not to.
I did too.
I think, he went out there ready and willing and wanting to say, and here are the nominees, but they have been named throughout the
Of the
show.
show.
with all the clips and everything. So I think it was, they've got to get onto that episode of Abbott Elementary. So they they
Wait,
they got to go where the money is, man. So come on, Al,
Katie is
wrap
saying
it up.
Kevin Costner. You're saying Kevin Costner for a role in it?
Kevin Costner, there's a line in the book where
Oh,
I say where Winston is kind of ruminating. He's with Grover, and Grover, the stuntman, is his best friend, and he's ruminating on the possibilities that never were. And at one point he says, "People say I could have had Costner's career." And of course, Grover sets him straight, as a good friend will do. But I could also see, like, I could see Kevin Costner directing this movie. I think he would do a magnificent job with it.
that's
I think he's a little too old to play the part, but
he could
but
direct
maybe
it.
not. Maybe not. I don't know. If that's how it gets made, see, that's what happens in Hollywood. Well, if Costner wants to make it, just let him play what he wants. Okay.
A lot of people are saying congrats on the book, and we love you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Playing. You're such a tremendous talent. They are asking, are you enjoying working with Baby Ace?
Yeah, that kid,
Joey?
those two kids are really lovely. I mean, they are not only about the most beautiful babies I've ever seen, but they're so well behaved. I mean, almost any time you have kids that young, you have to stop at some point because they just get the crankies, and they can't, and you just can't get anything done. So it's like, okay, I just put him down for his nap. If we say that might have been a cranky day. But the kids they are just great. I mean, they sit there and they look at you and they listen to you, and they kind of talk in their way to you. They make noises and they interact. I don't know if you can see that. They're actually like looking right at you and
Yeah.
kind of playing a visual tennis with you.
Well, they
They're
were
really
amazing
fun.
in the scenes
Um,
with Adipus, and they were amazing in those scenes where
yeah.
it was great. Do you think Kevin will this baby thing will cause drama for him and Laura?
Mm,
Or will he be like okay about the whole thing?
I think, I mean, personally, I think he's going to be okay about it. I think this is, if he hasn't learned to roll with the punches by now, then, hang it up, go home. But I do, we just shot some stuff this week along those lines. But I will say that what I think could and probably should happen is a real time kind of storyline about grandparents taking in their grandchildren and having to raise them for whatever reason, because apparently that's happening more and more. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it happened a lot anyway. Stu Damon did that.
that's right.
Dewey Damon, basically that he and Deirdre took in their grandbaby. And I remember Stewie just said on set one day, Big Stewie, we call him. He said, "You know what's great about it, John?" With his New York kind of thing. "You know what's great about it, John? I know exactly what I'm doing now for the rest of my life." Well, I can't argue with that, Stu. I would have said go to Australia or something, but my house is paid for. We got the baby. I got my job. I got my beautiful wife. Everything's good. I'm just doing this. That was Stuart.
Stewart, the
Yeah.
best.
Oh, miss him
The
terrible.
best. Oh, I miss him. I had such wonderful, wonderful conversations with him
Yeah.
and moments with him. I felt so privileged to even, you know,
Even just to know him. Yeah.
was amazing. So do you think Kevin is a good therapist?
I think he's the best. I really do. I
Because I'm
think,
afraid that the therapists and the police are not good in Port Charles, but
no, I think he's a really, really good therapist. But the old saying, advice is only good if you take it. He can only do so much. If somebody doesn't want to be bothered, they just aren't gonna do it.
oh God.
We have some stuff. I don't know. I haven't seen the show this week yet, but I have some scenes with the Ashford family, and
Yes, it
that we
was
shot.
heading towards that. We haven't
Yeah,
seen
it's gonna be this week sometime. So it was the first time I had to really work with Vernay and Robert and Donnell all together. And, I mean, first of all, they're all just first rate. They're all
Yeah.
great. And we have like a whole show of scenes, and they're really good. So I'm really looking forward to seeing them.
Everybody is commenting, of course, on playing twins, on, you're never going to get away from Ryan,
I don't, nor do I want to.
who is the greatest. It said, Daisy said, rewatched your February, March 2019 episodes. I appreciated even more the subtle differences you gave each of the twins, which made them so unique. Thank you again for sharing your tremendous talent. Now, I don't know if that's the episode.
I think that's got to be if 2019, so pre-COVID. That's a lot of yeah, Kevin, I believe, is captured by Ryan. And
Oh,
there are a lot of scenes, and Kevin goes blind for a while. A few characters went blind, and then Ryan would leave and wreak havoc. And then Jeannie finds Kevin, and then we had the aftermath. That was a really, really good storyline. So thank you for reminding me of that. It was a really good period. Thank you.
and there was a scene recently, and I'm getting old too. There was a scene, somebody brought up the fact that you hid your brother, and this is why this all happened, like recently, you brought Ryan back into the world because remember he rehabilitated him or brought him back. So somebody
Yeah.
blamed you. What was
Yeah,
that?
that was Heather.
Heather.
And who are you calling old, by the way?
I
Um,
was
yeah, no, there was a scene where Heather, was dumping
That's
on
right.
Kevin, and and you were playing God, and you wanted to do all this, and and we have some some fallout from that. I mean, Kevin is well aware of the mistake he made and what happened. People died because Ryan did get the better of him and got out and killed people, and then Heather went and killed people. It's quite a burden for him to have. And it's, though Laura is always trying to say, look, all you did was make one mistake. You didn't go and kill a bunch of people, but still it's hard I think that would be hard for anybody to come to terms with that. Even the smartest man in daytime, like Kevin Collins.
When you found out you were being paired with Jeannie Francis as a romantic partner on a show, what was your reaction?
Oh, I was thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. I didn't have any, function at that time. I didn't have any partner at that time. The Kevin and Lucy thing had blown up. Um, and there was never really any serious discussion of putting Kevin and Lucy back together after her umpteenth affair with Scott. I did say, look, I don't think we can do this. That's not responsible. If you're thinking about that, I don't think that Kevin should forgive her again. I think he should move on. And they all just said, yeah, we agree. Let's move you on. So all of a sudden, I got stopped in the hall by Frank Valentini when I was coming in one morning, and he said, "Hey, Jon, there's something we want to do with you. I wonder if I can run it by you." I said, "Yeah, of course." So I went up to the office. He told me that that was the plan, and I can tell you, I've known Jeannie almost since the day I started there back in '92, and I've always liked Jeannie. I've always liked her. She's incredibly smart. She's gifted as hell. I mean, to me, she's one of the best actresses that ever worked in television, let alone, daytime. And so I said, I would love to play something like that of a couple of, middle-aged adults finding love and finding this kind of safe place and creating a world of their own. I would love to play that story. So, and still today, we just worked yesterday, and we just acknowledge, I'm really glad that we're still doing this because we're happy working together. We really like to work together. She
It's
trusts
nice.
me, I trust her. It's like, like in a rock band, you have to trust each other. And as an actor, you've got to be able to trust your partner. And with us, it was pretty much instant. We just went for it.
It's nice that they haven't come up with reasons to break them up and do all these things unless they will soon. I don't know.
If
But
if that happens, I just want them to keep it real. let's find a real reason for that to happen.
Right. Not so manufactured that it would not track.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there was the scene I told you about when we talked during your Emmy nomination, but my favorite scene is still when Ryan was laying there dead and Kevin goes to see him.
Mm.
Do you, I just think that was the best scene
Thank
because
you.
it
Thank you.
was it was gut-wrenching, it was sad. He realizes he's dead and it's his brother and he didn't really save him at that point. Was there a lot of guilt for
Yeah.
him?
I mean, it's easy to play the guilt over, to imagine, because I think that's what actors do. You imagine what this relationship is and what the fallout is and all that. But it was also, there was a sense of, I was feeling a real sense of loss at saying goodbye to Ryan after, years after having said goodbye to him a long time ago, never expecting him to come back. And then having him come back in such a good way and become a big part of my professional creative life again. That was a part of just Jon saying goodbye to this, if you will, this old friend that had carried me through so many things. It was there was a lot going on. It was pretty layered what was happening inside
Very
me.
much. I think that's what I felt. And I also thought like to be able to play a character like Ryan and make him believable and not just a cartoon,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
You were able to do that.
Yeah,
You
thank you.
which is not easy to do because you could go completely
Yeah, people do comment on the that I made the differences between Kevin and Ryan very subtle, and there's a reason for that. I mean, not to take anything away from people like David Canary, who did it just brilliantly. He did,
they were
complete opposites, and that's the way that should have been. But for what we were going to do, and I remember years ago saying this when they wanted to bring in Kevin to replace Ryan because they had to get rid of Ryan at that point, yeah, somehow. Um, I said, I used to date a twin, and like back in my waiter days, and I remember. I mean, not only did they look, you could tell there was a physical difference, but I tell you, man, if they were sitting behind me somewhere talking, whatever they were talking about, I could not tell the difference. I didn't know which was talking, and I was living with one of them. So and I thought
hey,
that's really true about twins. If we're going to do this, let's do this so that if one takes the identity of the other, that we'll believe it. All those people out there will believe it that you can pull this off. I even thought, at some point, oh, we'll have Kevin pretend to be Ryan sometime. You could do it. You could go that
right,
direction.
with that, right,
Yeah.
right. You loved working, if I recall, with Avery Pohl.
Oh, I love Avery. Yeah.
She kind of came on there and was just like, wow, who is this?
Yeah.
And, did you kind of know instantly with her too, like she had that it thing, she would fit right in and able to do it, or
Yeah. Well, she had a lot of experience already. She'd been acting since she was a kid and, and professionally with good people. But, there was just really an eagerness that Avery had when I first met her that I could tell whatever she's going to do, she wants to do it the best possible way that she can. She wants to be as good as she can. And, it's not like I don't see that in young actors a lot. You do, especially the good ones. But there was just something about Avery. I mean, yes, she's set apart partly because of her look. She's very distinctive looking. She has a distinctive voice. She has a distinctive presence. But there's something else. You just called it the it factor. Um, I don't know what it is, but there's an unspoken, intangible thing that I think all the great stars have. Sean Connery had it, Meryl Streep has it, that allows a person to communicate on almost an invisible level. And Avery has that. So that's one of the reasons I'm a big promoter and supporter of Avery and her future, because I think she's she has that special something that can take her farther and higher than the rest of us, and I can include myself in that.
I'm seeing courtroom drama down the line where this
Yeah.
baby, she'll come back. I can see it. I can see it. I've known Soap for a long time. When you've done your book tour thing, you've been, going to Barnes and Nobles, you've been making appearances, and you meet people, right? They're getting your autograph. What are they saying to you the most? Like, what are they, what are you getting back from the audience or the fans that come
Well,
get?
mostly it's because I'm going to bookstores and they're buying the book there. Unless they've already bought it and they're buying it for somebody else and haven't read it yet. So I'm hearing an awful lot of, I'm seeing so many good things about it. My friend read this. I'm picking this up for my friend. I have gotten a few. I read it already, and I'm buying this one for my mother because I know she'll love it, kind of thing. But I also get a lot of GH people coming in saying, "Wow, I had no idea that you could write too." I heard you played drums for a while, which I did. But to sit down and write books, that's a whole different thing. So, a little bit is I guess I'm just getting the surprise. Gee, I didn't know you could do that.
I think when I met you, you were playing drums
Yes. First time we actually met was on the beach. I was
on
playing
the beach at the beach
for a,
event that I was in.
yeah, for a benefit that you put
Right.
together. Yeah.
Yes. And you were playing drums. I'm like, I didn't know he played. It was like, right? That's
Yeah. Yeah.
and to your point about, which is why I love what you're doing. It's so great to have a project, something that you wanted to do and putting it out there, right? It is really fulfilling.
It
And
is.
you
Yeah.
know, and I relate to that with doing my music now. Like people see you one way and they're like, I didn't know you could sing.
Right.
Like the same thing with you. Like, I didn't know you could write a book and da da da. Because I think we all see people see you kind of one way and you have to kind of like, so a lot of times they don't want to
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you have to force it on them.
force it on them.
Yeah. It's some people the question I often get is how did you get here? How did you end up going all the way to writing a book? Because excuse me, it is a big job to do that. But I just I basically try to remind people that everything I've done until this point has prepared me in some way. Becoming an actor, learning what that means, breaking down scripts, learning how to write scripts, learning how to direct scripts. And my cat is, come here, Chet.
Guest appearance.
Yeah, guest
But you're,
appearance from
but you're,
Schmidt. See what he's doing right now? He's been doing that with my feet.
oh no.
Ow.
Oh,
Okay, that's enough.
all right. That's
Yeah,
uh
that's Schmidt, everybody. That's what I put up with. He tries to tackle me as I walk
while you're
across.
writing.
I shut the door. I go to
Was
the basement and write some days. But everything that I did, all the way through directing, which helped me dig deeper into story and structure and intention and motivation and all that. And then I started narrating audiobooks, which kind of fell into my lap. And coincidentally, luckily, I fell into narrating a lot of thrillers. Which is, I don't know why I landed it. I did a couple of nonfiction, but mostly thrillers, about 35 of them now. And that, any narrator will tell you when you narrate a book and have to record it, it brings you closer to the text.
mm.
It's almost like seeing it in bas relief. It's just you just get that much closer to it. And that really helped me. And that's really what gave me the impetus to finally take the leap, because I've been wanting to write a book, wanting to be an author since I was about 20 years old.
And what would you say from start to finish this? How long does this take you to write Hollywood Hustle?
Of actual writing, about 2 years. And that's, all the way through, including working with an independent editor and then working with my agent once I found an agent, because she had some editorial notes as well, which were right. And so all in all, it was about 2 years of writing and rewriting. I had to take some time off because at one point I was, probably 150 pages in, and then they resurrected Ryan, and I had to put it down because I didn't have time to write. I was so busy playing twins, and so I put it down for like a year, and then COVID hit, so I was able to pick it up, and then of course the soap started first of all the shows, and we picked up right where we left off. So I was right back to the twin thing. I had to put it down again. So there was a span of about 4 years, inside of which was 2 years of me writing a book.
Did you feel like, was it your decision or publisher or agent? Like, what was the decision to like, all right, we're ready to go. This is it. It's final. And were you okay with it? Or were you like, how we all are with art, like, oh, I wish I could have, because we're all
You
like,
know,
same way, I'm like, I
well,
can't listen to that again.
oh, it's funny. We went through all those editorial processes and got to the point where we thought it was perfect. And then I went to record the audio version, and I kept finding things. We say in filmmaking, you never finish a movie, you just abandon it. And I think it's true of any kind of big creative project. There's always something that you'd like to change, but sooner or later, you got to let it go out in the world.
That's what they say to me too about I'm like, I'm writing, I'm doing the music, I'm in production, I do it. And they're like, Michael, you've got to release this. What are you doing?
You're not Steely Dan, man.
It's Steely Dan.
They take 12 years to
They're
do
like,
an
you're not.
album. Just
And
put
I'm
it
like, why is
out.
this going so
Great.
slow? They go,
Good.
you're the one that's slow. Um, do you have, Kathy's asking, do you have another dream that you may pursue in the future?
Mostly travel. Yeah, mostly travel. I mean, as creatively speaking, all I really want to do right now is do some acting wherever I do it. GH, movies, whatever. And happily, all that stuff is happening for me. So I'm in a great place with that. And write books.
And
And
I was
that's
going to say you do. What I loved about your career is I'll see you popping up, or we'll know that you're on doing a primetime guest appearance.
yeah,
We is the Now, do you like doing primetime because you're getting to do different roles,
I
or is
do. Yeah.
it like so dragged out because it takes forever for you to get your scene done because you're waiting around all week?
It doesn't bother me. People who have never done daytime, who I work with in either prime time or features, and they have yet to do daytime. They always ask me, what's it like doing those things? And I say, look, it's the same job. It's the same gig. You're doing the same amount of work and probably the same amount of hours. It's just you're doing a lot more scenes once instead of one or two scenes a lot, several times. But at the end of the day, you're just as exhausted, and they all kind of look at me like, really? I can't imagine that, and then they come and they do daytime and they realize I shouldn't have done this because they can't remember their lines. And, I see that over and over and over again. Yeah, it scares the hell out of them.
I see your friend Michelle Valjean had exciting news.
Oh, Michelle.
I mean,
Talk about the geniuses. She is, I mean, I could not be more thrilled for her. She's been working, I've known about this show for a while. She read my book early on, so writers try to help each other, really. I think they're the most helpful of all the creative fields. But to see that my friend Michelle, who wrote all the original Kevin and Ryan stuff,
I just want to say that because I think people don't, right? What we don't know.
probably don't know that she's such an intelligent writer that when she started doing that, and we collaborated a bit back then in terms of talking about the relationship with Kevin and Ryan and what the theme should be and all that, but she did the writing. She's the one that really ran with it and made it what it still is today. um that's how much of an impact I feel that she had on that story. um to see that it's her that has created what will be the first new soap opera in
I think it would be
20
25 years, 25
25 years.
years.
Yeah.
It'd be to 25 years. I was so surprised because I've always been thrilled, of course, and so surprised. 'Cause we have so many people always in my ear.
Mhm.
Like this is, your whole daytime thing is falling apart.
Oh yeah, they're always telling us.
It's all, you hear, right? And this is so wonderful to even have this sort of news. I hope it all comes to fruition, which would be absolutely amazing. It looks like, you
It
know,
will. It
well,
is. Yeah,
it
it
is.
is. It's greenlit. It's going.
Greenland's great. And I love that it was Michelle. And what I loved was you were so wonderful on social media about her. And I just feel like, you give it back, right? You people help you, you give it back, and you have a friendship with her. So
Yeah, I consider her one of my best friends, one of my most important friends, certainly. She's just, she's been a constant for a long, long time now. And if you really love your friends, you want to see them do well. So this is just, I mean, it's huge. It's huge for the medium. It's huge for television. It's huge for writers. It's huge for the audience. It's just huge that this is going forward at this time, right when everybody's scared to death that AI is going to take their job. I'd like to remind you that, yeah, people are nervous about AI, but everybody from the executives down to the guys who empty the garbage cans, they know that they don't want AI to replace them. The way people talk about it, it's a little overblown, I think, because AI can only do what's been done before. That's all it can do. I don't think we're looking at James Cameron Terminator territory just yet, where it becomes self-aware and it kills us all. I think we're a ways from that. But nobody wants to be replaced by AI. So as long as we are vigilant and do our best work, there's no way that AI can replace us.
yeah, I was going to just throw a couple other things. Jade says, does John think Esme is still alive?
In short, yes.
um,
She's eating a croissant somewhere on the
Eating a
set right
croissant.
now.
So you go to As the World Turns and you play Craig,
Oh, one of my favorite jobs ever.
but you were so wonderful in that role.
Thanks.
It had been played by other actors too.
Yeah.
So was that like, okay, I'm going to go do this, and you didn't care about who had come before you, or
I could very flippantly say now, oh no, didn't even think about it. But the fact is, when I was on the plane, relocating
yeah,
from LA, I was living in Venice Beach at the time, and they offered me a contract, that's a commitment. That says we want to marry you. um, I'm on the plane, and they had overnighted me all the old storylines and stuff, and I was flipping through all this stuff, and I knew that I would be I think number 4 out of 5 different iterations, because one of the guys had done it twice already and very well. Um, I felt at the time like I was kind of stepping into the James Bond of daytime shoes, and that I was kind of like, am I going to be a Roger Moore, or a Daniel Craig, you
yeah.
know successfully taking over from the OG Sean Connery, or am I going to be the George Lazenby, who really was good in On Her Majesty's Secret Service, by the way. It's one of the best Bond movies ever made,
That
but
was
he
the
won.
best analogy.
And yes, I was really worried about that. And my first day on the set was pretty nerve-wracking. But Chris Goutman, God love him, he's the one who came out and just said, remember, the tone on this show is just really very realistic. We just try to keep everything really grounded here. I said, okay, all right, I'll do it that way. And I got an Emmy nomination, my
It
first Emmy nomination for that.
was for that.
Yeah.
Was for,
I know, not for Kevin and Ryan,
for
but
Kevin and
for Craig
Ryan,
Montgomery.
Craig
Yeah.
Montgomery. And then you got to work with, you did work with Elizabeth Hubbard
Yeah. Had some great times with her. She was funny.
and
She was
Mara.
just, and Maura. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, Maura and I got to be friends on that show. It was, as if you watched, you saw an unrequited love story there, on Craig's part, not hers. And, Yeah, we had a good time. I wasn't sure what to make of Maura at first because she's so brassy, you know. She's so brassy and she speaks her mind all the time. And and I thought, oh, this is the difference between LA and New York right here, embodied in Maura West. You know,
Right.
ask her what she thinks, she'll tell you. And I like that. And yeah, we did good work. I don't know if that's where the idea came to pair Ryan pretending to be Kevin with Ava or not.
Right.
But uh, but I remember she called me and she said, "Did you hear that we're going to be working together?" I said, "No, I guess I'm getting all my news from you."
Yeah, I remember quite so there used to be this snobbery too when there were all the East Coast shows. All the East Coast shows thought they were, of course, the better actors than the West Coast shows. That was the thing I heard. Was that
Yeah.
going on there?
No, no. It's funny. I came in, but I already had a pedigree when I got to that show.
True. True.
I had, I'd written movies. I'd worked in a lot of movies. I'd done I'd done a lot of stuff. The only thing I hadn't done was Broadway. And the fact is, with the exception of I think Michael Park, of the people that were on the show at the time, because Larry Brigman wasn't there and some other people. But Michael Park was the only person that had any real like stage cred. But I was coming in with, maybe Hollywood, but I did have real TV and film credibility when I stepped in. So no, I didn't get that at all.
So it's up there in your favorite roles?
Oh, absolutely. And it was one of my favorite jobs because where I was living, I gotta pull this thing
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
Um, uh, where I was living in New York City at the time, I just walked around the corner and got on the B train, I think, and took the train into Brooklyn. I'd learn my lines on the train and have my to-go cup of coffee. And I'd get out to Brooklyn, and it was great because it was out in Brooklyn. And it was so far out, all we had to do out there was work. So there was no distraction. It wasn't like people were coming out and visiting the set all the time. Uh, and at the end of the day, get back on the train, I'd ride back into the city and go out to dinner and live the New York lifestyle. It was great. I just loved it. I loved the job. I loved the character. I loved the people I worked with. Yeah, I was really sad when the show got canceled.
Really sad.
Yeah.
AE is saying, "Hi, John. I would love to see Ryan come back from the dead. I purchased your book today and I can't wait to start it."
Oh, thank you for both of those.
I don't know how Ryan can come back from the dead.
I don't know either. This last go around, I think it was Elizabeth Court, who is now one of our head writers, came up with the solution. Hey, it was an explosion. He could have been knocked clear, which is what we used. It's like, yeah, he could have just been
Right.
knocked clear, and he was. But this is a bullet in the heart.
Yeah, I
So
don't
I
know.
don't know unless somebody at the morgue freezes him and puts him on the electromagnetometer or something. I don't know. I just wouldn't want to be too silly about it. But I'd
Uh,
love to bring Ryan back.
Daisy saying, if someone is interested in narrating books, do you have any advice on how to begin?
Oh boy. Okay. The first thing you have to do is see if you're up to it. And to do that, pick a book that you'd like to read out loud, whatever you like to read the most. I'd say start there. For me, it was thrillers. And sit down in front of a microphone. Could be your phone, could be whatever, but you want to sit in a quiet space and read for 2 hours.
Hmm.
Yeah, because if you do it professionally, you're going to have to do it in 1 to 4 hour stretches. Normally we would work from around 10 in the morning to about 4 in the afternoon, and that's about all my throat could take. We might push a little bit farther some days or start a little earlier, but I'd say start there. Then, if you can do that, pick the best 2 minutes, 3 minutes from it, and you can go to the oh gosh, there's a website. and I can't remember the name. I'll try and get it for Michael here, and he can post it on
I'll post it, Daisy.
in the
Yep.
comments or
Yeah.
something. And see if you can submit it around. You can even go to the Screen Actors Guild website and you can download the audiobook producers and see if you can just get them on the phone and say, hey, I'm a newcomer and I'd like to try. And they'll probably make you not do it for free, but certainly for a cut rate. But that's the only way I know.
There you go. Mysterio saying, does Jon know Bryan Cranston since they almost have the same variance in their acting styles?
Actually, I do know Bryan. The last time I saw Bryan was at the Directors Guild annual meeting, but it was several years ago. I haven't seen him since. And I was walking through after the annual meeting, which is, you hear about the pension and health plan and all that stuff. And I'm walking through and I hear, hello, Jon. And I look up and it's like that. It's Bryan. Now, Bryan and I, this is a good little piece of trivia. Bryan and I used to compete against each other quite a bit, including in commercials. And I went in for, I think it was a Mazda commercial. And there's all the guys, all the same guys. And there's Bryan's there as well. And we're all talking and laughing. And we go in and do our audition. We go home. I got the commercial. And I had to pass on it because I had just booked my first days on General Hospital. So it's 1992. Now, when you accept a booking, that means you can't get out of that. You can't change your mind. You can be put on hold. They can put a pin in you or little things like that. But until you agree to book the date, then all bets are off. But once you book it, you're stuck. You have to do it. So I had booked these dates. At the time, it was maybe 4 or 5 days, but it conflicted with the commercial. So I couldn't do the commercial. So they went to second choice, and it was Bryan. And I only knew that because, and maybe he was third or fourth, I don't know, but I saw the commercial and it was Bryan. And I went, hey, Bryan got that commercial. Great. Because it was a lucrative one. It was a good job to have as a commercial. So that was the year I got General Hospital. And, my life changed and went on from there. It was also the year that Bryan got Malcolm in the Middle and his life changed and went off that way. So, because he did Malcolm and then he did Breaking Bad,
Right.
and that was like, yeah. I mean, Malcolm in the Middle wasn't his show. It was the kid's show. But that's what really put him on the map to get Breaking Bad. And of course, now he's become a legend.
All right, so I was going to ask you Port Charles. So you go to Port Charles. It's a newer show.
No, not newer. It was new.
New.
We launched
And it was a spin. It was new. Were you on there thinking, is this gonna work? Is this gonna work? And then, because they had changed the whole thing when it got into the vampire thing, right?
Yeah, it went through several iterations and attempts at trying to pull audience. Funny, Port Charles, I didn't know if it was going to work. I just wanted it to work. I really liked doing it. It was only a half hour and I was one of the main characters, so I was working all the time. And we had a lot of laughs, a lot of fun. I mean, how do you not when you're working with Ken every day,
I mean,
and I'm meeting great people like, Julie Pinson and
Wilkinson.
great friends and and still are today. But I do recall there was a day, probably 3 or 4 months in, and we had really worked hard to try and get this show up. And there was some, there was a little bit of frustration and dissension that we weren't getting the big numbers that certainly the network had hoped for. But we're all on stage, and it was really, I think it was the network had come to just say, you know what, we know what you're doing. We wanted to thank you for this. And I remember just saying, somebody asked, hey, Jon, do you have anything you want to say? And I said, you know what, this has been a really arduous few months. There's been some tears and there's been some yelling. There's been some arguments, but there's also been a lot of laughs. And I'm really grateful for that. And whatever happens with this show, I wouldn't trade this experience of trying to launch something new into the world for anything. The show wound up running 6 years, which by anybody's measure is actually a
Success.
raging
Yeah,
success.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody, even in prime time, I mean, you're lucky to get 6 episodes, let alone 6 years. So I have nothing but pride and fond memories. And I remember the laughs most of all. We had a great time.
You didn't know
Really had.
David Gale, or did you know
I
David?
did know David, yeah. Yeah.
It was
I
very,
didn't work with him that
I
close,
know. Yeah.
but yeah, he had replaced Michael. And yeah, David had some problems, but boy, he sure was a sweet guy. Sweet
Yeah.
guy, talented too. He's very talented. I don't think he knew how talented he was. You were asking about inspirations for Winston Green. It's all those people that I've known, like David, who had all this potential, and it just didn't go the way it should have.
When you think of, GH had a rough year with Nika and Jackie and Tyler and Sonia, those must have been very, very hard for you, as well. I mean, I talked to everybody, so many people. It was so hard. It's hard when you're a family. You're like a family over there.
Yeah.
Um, how were you dealing with the loss and the grief that had gone on?
It was it was another it was another loss. My mother had gone into hospice, last year, and she had been fading for some time. So I knew she was going to go, and she did pass in September.
Also,
But she was 93 years old and had lived a long, good, productive, happy life. And I got to spend a lot of time with her towards the end, which I was very grateful for. But it was getting to be a bit much, all this loss going on. And the loss of such lovely people, to lose Sonia, to lose Jackie. Jackie was a big shock to all of us. Jackie was a shock to everyone, including Jackie, I think.
I did
Uh,
too.
yeah, and with when Billy and then Tyler and then David and it just seemed like it wouldn't stop.
And Nika.
And Nika, it just I don't know. People talk about, you reach that time in your life when the people start to drop off. And that's how I dealt with it. I said, okay, I've reached that time of my life where people are starting to reach the end of their particular road and moving on to the next level, whatever that is. And wherever they are now, I just hope I hope they've learned the lessons if there were some to learn. I
I
know
was
I had a guy once, a philosopher, a friend of mine, he studied all this great kind of metaphysical stuff, and he said, "Oh, Jon, if you're stupid here, you're going to be stupid there." So,
it's
so try to be better here. He says, "Now you're thinking, okay."
it is true. It did get, as we were experiencing the losses of people that I knew so well, and it does make you think like, oh, I'm at that age, or for me, like I'm at that age, or oh gosh, I've got to I'm losing a lot of people.
Yeah.
My mom died of Alzheimer's, was put into a hospice, um, 5 years ago
Oh, sorry.
in April, I believe it will be. I think it's 5 years. But it was that, and then a lot of other people. So I kind of went through something similar. But it does make you take stock of your life a little bit.
Yeah,
Things are
it
not
does.
permanent. They're
Yeah,
not.
not permanent. And are you living your best life? Are you
Are
doing
you
the
living
things
your best life?
that you really desire to do? That's another reason I really wanted to finish this. I'm sorry my mother couldn't see the end result, but my father has. And as much as he can, he's going blind. So the publishers were kind enough to send him an audiobook. They sent him the
But he
DVD.
must be so proud of you.
He's so happy and he just
Isn't that
loves to listen.
great?
Yeah, it's great.
I
It's
love when
great.
you
But she knew that I had written it and that I had a publishing deal and it was coming out
oh,
and all that. So she knew that.
oh.
And of course she knew my career, my life has been, really blessed, truly blessed.
Are you gonna write another book?
Yeah, I'm working on it now. I'm about halfway through it.
And
And
is it gonna be
it's
a crime thriller?
It's another LA-based crime thriller. It'll have to do with Hollywood, and I'm going to see if I can at least double the body count on this one.
Please, but double the body count.
Kill Hollywood one book at a time.
Please double the body. But you must be proud of this, Jon. It's great.
I am. I am very proud of it. And it's easily one of the most gratifying things I've ever done. And truly is reaping rewards. I mean, to be able to say that I'm a best-selling author as a description I never thought I would bestow on myself.
Exciting.
It's so exciting, and it really means a lot. I mean, people are coming to me going, my God, Jon, other authors are coming to me going, Jon, your first book, it usually takes us 10 books to get that. And I was like, well, I've had some experience writing before. Were you writing really lousy books before? Because it takes a while. It takes a while to get good at something.
It does. This is amazing. Congratulations on this. And I'm so glad you took some time that we connected to talk about this and all of your career, which has been amazing. We've all loved all of your work. I can't think of a false note.
No, Emma Stone is the one.
Emma Stone.
Yeah.
So everybody should get Hollywood Hustle. You can
please, thank you very much, and please enjoy it.
Enjoy it. Let us know what you think about the book.
Yeah, and I will look out for the one who wants to narrate audiobooks. I will find that website for you.
Find that. I'll let you know about that. And casting suggestions if this becomes a movie.
Yeah. Once you read the book, please throw the suggestions out. I think it'd be a great public discussion. Why not?
Exactly. I think that's something for discussion. All right. So coming up on General Hospital, we'll see you on the show.
Yeah, you'll see me this week, if not already.
Week in a therapy session.
Yes. Doing what he does best.
Doing what he does best. All right, Jon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for showing up.
Everybody, thanks for being here.